I'm Jackie Fox. This is Jackie Fox and Friends, and this is the
the friend.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm the friend of Jackie Fox and Friends.
Would you like to introduce yourself, friend?
Sure. Hi, I'm Nick Smith. I live in North Carolina, and we met on the internet. Not in a creepy way, but on Facebook. So, very tame. Very boomer-esque.
Yep. I just found out I was one of the early adopters of Fulcrum politics. Do you mind giving us a few words about that?
Sure. So, Fulcrum Politics is a online, so far just online. This is like the first in-person meeting about anybody talking about it.
Yeah.
So, Fulcrum Politics is just this online thing. It's got a Facebook page. It's got a Twitter that I don't use. It's got a website that I try to use a bit more than I should. I don't know. But basically, it is a organization focused entirely on trying to get non-Democrats or Republicans elected to office. Or at least that's a big goal. That's like 10 years down the road probably. It's going to take a while. But between now and then, at least get people talking about it. Because that's the exciting thing. Because one thing I've learned is that there are so many roadblocks they put up to try and keep this kind of stuff from happening. Mm-hmm. And like, you can't even talk about this kind of stuff without registering as some sort of thing and then getting permission to do it. Mm-hmm. Which I'm just like, it's just very frustrating. But it also makes sense because it's campaign finance. But that's basically what it is. It's an organization entirely focused to trying to spread the word and educate people that they don't have to vote for one party or the other just because they're scared that something bad's going to happen.
Well, I'm glad we got off on the internet front and on the front of roadblocks, because I think those two things intersect really well to the first thing I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted to make a video about this regardless, but I think that you're the perfect person to make this video with.
Your confidence is incredible.
Do you remember the trolley meme that I sent you last night?
Yes,
which
I've
is
been reviewing
now on screen. Ooh,
Shazam!
They can't see it.
The magic of movies.
Yes, exactly. The magic of editing.
They can totally see it. Don't tell them.
So, what
future Jackie, put the trolley meme in.
I'll work on it. Editor Jackie, get on that shit. So, what do you think the answer is to that particular trolley problem?
What I was immediately defaulting to, because the fact that you're talking about lesser infinities of people dead and greater infinities of people dead, the realist in me was like, who matters? Does it really matter? Like, everyone's going to die. If we're going to hit infinity either way, no one's going to be able to reproduce, so same end result. What's the big deal? So I'm like, I'd rather not make a choice. So I'm just going to let it keep running over not making a decision, we're going to hit all the real numbers of people, not the integers of people. So I was like, if everyone's going to end up dying anyway, we're going to kill infinite numbers of people, and there isn't an infinite enough number of humans. Everyone's going to die anyway, so Now, the human part of me was like, I'm definitely going to pull the lever and have it hit the real numbers and still eventually reach infinity, because what I was thinking was, if you go on the one that had, I was taking the image very, very literally, all right?
I did too.
Okay, because the way I was seeing it was, if you don't do anything and hit all of people lined up right next to each other, you're going to hit the end goal, or the end amount of humans quicker. If you divert it, it's going to hit, there's going to be gaps in between all of them. So while people can still contemplate their own mortality and know death is rapidly approaching with greater certainty that way, at the very least, it'll take longer to reach that extinction of humanity. So people can either say goodbye, even as they're tied up on railroad tracks. They can say goodbye to people. They can spread rumors about people through the railroad track telephone game and everything else. But they can still talk to each other. It'll take longer. It'll be more stressful, but at the very least, people will get to say goodbye if they want to.
Okay.
And there's more time.
You hit on parts of my answer. I don't remember exactly which way it was going to begin with. I think it was going to hit the integers and not the real numbers. So
I think if you don't do it, because it keeps going straight if you don't do anything, right? So it's going to kill. Everyone's much more lined up on the bottom, I think.
Yeah.
Actually,
So, are you ready for me to blow your mind?
Blow my mind.
Because I have a couple of thoughts on this one, but ultimately one big thought that's really going to blow your mind. So I'm going to get with the less mind-blowing...
Big brain.
Yeah, big brain. I'm going to give it the less mind-blowing math answers. So I think that there is an argument to be made for not pulling the lever based on math, because I think that there is a chance that hitting that many people that fast could possibly derail the trolley.
I hope so.
Because that is a possibility. This trolley may derail, and unfortunately on the other side, you know, they're so few and far well, they're not few, they're still infinite. They're so far between that it might be able to keep chugging along. Mm-hmm. That is one possible argument, but the one that I really like is, it looks like these are kind of lined up, so the 1 is lined up with 1, the 2 is lined up with 2. Obviously they can't represent this on screen because there's an infinite number of points between 1 and 2 if we're talking integers. But I would pull the lever, and then I would do everything that I can to derail the trolley. Mm-hmm. Building walls, manufacturing explosives, anything that I possibly can do, because in either case, even if I don't pull the lever, I have an infinite amount of time to stop this, or at least finite based on the number of humans. But the meme is very clear about saying that these are infinite numbers of humans, so somehow we're reproducing while being...
Well, either that, or I took it as, I don't know if this was going out of bounds or not, but the other way I took it is like, we have achieved interstellar travel, and there are an infinite number of human beings scattered across the entire universe.
Well, this is a very long railroad track, exactly. Regardless. So
if we're hitting infinite people, yeah. if infinite people is something being considered, I was like, we've achieved interstellar travel. This is exciting.
Wow.
So
I didn't think about that. That's a great thought.
Yeah, with interstellar travel, with infinite number of people that could die, there's no way that this trolley killing that just boop, 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 boop. There's no way that it can outpace human reproduction at that point. Besides, if we've checked interstellar travel, guess what else we probably figured out?
Well, apparently how to build a railroad between planets, but...
Yes, but also, I'm going to assume, this is an assumption of course, that if we have achieved interstellar travel, because we have an infinite number of people, the other way that we've reached infinite people, which makes sense if we get interstellar travel, is we've also perfected cloning.
Oh, yeah.
Which, like, in that case, if we can just clone people, then of course we have infinite numbers, and we can just keep throwing the clones in the way.
Well, okay, so I have considered that too, that there is actually a person throwing some sort of, there is a portion of humanity that is not yet tied to the tracks, that is being thrown onto the tracks by some sort of a bad actor, in which case assassinate the bad actors, solve the problem completely.
Done.
But the whole point here for me in how I'm answering this question is thinking outside of the box and trying to escape a false binary. Because this is not just about one option or the other. This is about all the ways that we could solve the problem. Mm-hmm. It's not just about Democrats and Republicans. It's about all the ways that we could go at politics. And that is exactly why I wanted to discuss this particular meme with you, sir.
Yeah. There's the other thing that, when you were just talking, or made me think of this is there's one of the very early memes that I put on the Facebook page. It had, I can find it real quick. I'm sure you've browsed through all of the things that I've ever posted on the Facebook page. So you're
over
an
time.
expert. You're an
over
expert.
Time. As an early adopter, I think I have.
We're gonna have early. Shush.
Oh man, we're getting creeped on by, what is that? Alexa?
Yeah.
Alexa's creeping on us?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wasn't talking to you.
She's creeping on us.
Well, it makes me feel good that even if there is an audio issue with this microphone, that Jeff Bezos has a backup copy of this conversation.
Let's see. It was one of the very early ones. But the way you were describing it was this one that someone else posted.
Yeah.
And I was like, we kill all the people quicker or we kill all the people slower? Which one do you want? Everyone's still going to die, but...
That really is kind of the choice that we're facing, because neither of them are really addressing the systemic issues of why the poor are dying. It's just one of them is kind of I don't know. I guess if in this metaphor they're doing it with like a baseball bat, one of them is patting the baseball bat and killing you more slowly.
Or one has nails and one doesn't.
Yeah, that's another way of looking at
One's
it.
being swung by a Major League Baseball player and one's just a normal guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess there is an argument for going for like the padded or unnailed or non-MLB player bat, but that is only in the case that there is not a good option to completely get rid of the bat or the MLB player or whatever. And you believe that there is an option to get rid of that. Now, first, I want to talk about, I believe that we have an amazing opportunity during the primary. We in North Carolina have an amazing opportunity because it's an open primary state. So anyone listening, especially if you were a registered independent, has the opportunity to vote for Bernie Sanders, who, even though he is operating as a Democrat in order to get around the spoiler effect, which we may talk about later. I know. That's a rough one. But we do have the option, at least as long as we're in the primaries, to make a choice for the first time in my lifetime, at least, that is not just the lesser of two evils. And if we abstain from that choice until we get into the presidential election, when we think it's most important, we may lose that opportunity, and we may once again be stuck with killing infinite numbers of people in two completely different ways. So, can you tell me what your plan?
The good news is in terms of if the president does kill people, more than likely they're not Americans. See, we're in all these foreign wars, man. It's great. All we got to worry about, we don't have to worry about the Yemenis we're killing. We don't have to worry about the Iraqis we're killing, or the Afghanis. It's great.
Oh man,
I'm kidding, by the way.
You're starting this pattern of every interview I do, I have to plug the fact that since starting the war in Iraq, and this is just Iraqi civilians, two qualifiers there, not everybody in the Middle East,
Ruined
just
my day,
Iraqi civilians.
Ruined my day.
As of last April, it was somewhere between 180 and just over 200,000 civilians died thanks to the war that was started by George Bush and continued and perpetuated by every president since.
Yay!
And Joe Biden's up there making this argument
We're
that
good,
him and Obama tried to slow it
Americans.
down, but really that's just the argument for let's just kill the real numbers, not the integers.
Yep. Let's pull the lever and only kill a couple of Iraqis every now and then. No big deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's the choice I want to avoid in presidential politics.
One of my favorite things, I don't know if you saw it, talking about America's lust for endless war. All right? It gets us horny like nothing else does. All right? Now,
it definitely gets the blood pumping, that's for sure.
Yes. Pumping out of our bodies.
And out of their bodies, unfortunately.
There was, I think it was a real thing. I don't think it was a joke, but there was a thing I saw. It was right before John Bolton got fired or resigned. I don't remember what it was, and I'm not going to be able to find it quick enough to really have interest, but it was something along the lines of, right for the last few weeks before John Bolton got fired by President Trump or resigned or whatever it was, whenever John Bolton was in meetings with foreign dignitaries or national security people, the story was something like President Trump was always like, "Yeah, we're not really interested in this war, but I know John is. I know, John, you want to go fight them, right?" He would just be calling them out as a neocon warmonger.
Here comes the bus. John, are you ready?
Here we go. John, you want us to go kill them, right? There are people over there we can kill. There's oil to go get. Let's go.
It's not like there isn't something you could do about that as a president, right?
Of course not.
Commander-in-chief, is that a phrase? I feel like that's a thing. What does that mean? Who knows?
Well, it's lost all meaning with how much power Congress has given up in terms of overseeing war, but
arguably it's been given more power by things like the AUMF.
They've been ceding more and more control.
Oh yeah,
that's what. Oh yeah, War Powers Act is a joke.
Yeah, and notice how there's only one person on that debate stage that is really arguing and litigating the AUMF. Everybody else is complicit. Happily complicit.
It's sad.
Sad.
So
low energy.
So it is your belief that we have infinitely more options in local and state politics than we do in presidential politics, and maybe that in local politics we don't have as much of a spoiler effect, or we can get around that. What are your feelings on that? Maybe we should introduce what the spoiler effect is first.
Yes, because I was messaging him last night. Someone tried to call me out on it on the Facebook page, and that's what I was trying to have you look over, because I was like, I don't want to sound like an asshole just calling this guy out, because he's like, you don't know what you're talking about. There's a spoiler effect. You guys need to know about that. And I'm just like, sir, I wouldn't have started this if I didn't know that's what it was. But yes, spoiler effect is very frustrating, and it does exist, and I know people are super duper scared because everyone's been victimized by it in one way or another. Because Bush Jr. got elected because Ralph Nader spoiled Florida,
or because of the Supreme Court, or because Jeb Bush had his side. Take your pick. It's not necessarily the spoiler effect at work.
Yes, I agree. But that's what people blame it on. They don't want to blame it on something else. It's easy enough to blame third parties. Oh, they ruined everything.
Well, of course. Why should we consider the corruption that's inherent to both of our main parties?
You're going to get us cast off the internet with that kind of talk. Stop.
I keep forgetting Bezos is listening. God.
Perfect. But, spoiler effect. I hate it. It exists, and I still hate it. It exists, but it doesn't exist.
So why do you think that this isn't as big of an issue in local politics? Is that your position?
Yes, that is my position. Because in presidential elections, it is a very big deal for people. People do rightly see the president as being the presidential election as being one that can drastically change the path of a nation. And that's true. It drastically can change the path of a nation, whichever one we pick. Because there's so much power in that particular position. However, for people's everyday lives, I think there's a lot more good that can be done by having people focus on local and state elections. Like your city council can do way more to impact your life than the president ever can. The president can change the entire country and how we represent it in the world, but in terms of your personal life, city council, county commissioners, that's the big thing. Yeah. The dog catcher, the district attorney, these are the people that can lock you up, tax you to oblivion, make you do things that you don't want to do, arrest you. The president can't arrest you.
And these are also the places where protest and political action are way more effective.
Exactly.
Just recently, I had assumed, because the cynic in me always assumes that nothing good is ever going to happen within politics. I recently found out that an action that I was involved in back in maybe 2012, 2013, I forget exactly the year, was actually really effective in Greensboro. We were fighting for participatory budgeting, which is a system where you take a very small slice of the big budget and you put that up for a democratic vote of the people, and they can assign that in little bits and pieces to local projects that are important to them. It is direct democracy in action. I participated in that, even though I'm not a Greensboroian.
I don't know what the noun is for someone from Greensboro. All of you Greensboroians in the comment section, let us know. What do you call yourselves?
But I participated in that for about a month and a half, and then I got out of it because it didn't seem like we were making headway. But I was wrong, because apparently Greensboro has, at least to some degree, maybe not as much as we wanted, participatory budgeting. So my point is, we have a chance to make a big impact even with small numbers of people, just by showing up to city council things, open comment. That stuff really works. But tell me why third parties work as well.
Well, the interesting thing for third parties is that it is extremely hard to run as an independent candidate, no matter what you're doing. All right. The requirements to be on the ballot are ridiculous. You're pretty much self-funding. You have no support structure whatsoever. It's one reason that even though a lot of the comments on the page have been, why don't we just get rid of political parties? They exist because they're the most effective vehicle for average people to find political power. It's the easiest way for them themselves to run, and it's also the easiest way for them in their very busy day-to-day lives to hold elected officials accountable. If you have the RNC and DNC chairman cracking the whip on some of these elected officials, that's more effective than me sending a letter to someone and be like, hey, you're not doing what I like you to be doing. So that's one reason I do support political parties as a vehicle for positive change, because you have a bunch of people that are dedicated to doing this day in and day out. These are people that, it's economies of scale. You're just handing off these responsibilities to someone that can do it more efficiently than other people. Mm-hmm. I guess it's capitalism in action. I don't know. a form of political capitalism. I don't know. But I think it just is very beneficial to normal people, regular people, to have a type of political class that can handle these sorts of things for people. Now, there's other issues, of course, that come up when you have people that their only job is working in politics, mm-hmm. because mm-hmm. then they kind of get lost out of the day-to-day. But again, that's I think that's more so an indictment of the people that get involved, but not the support structure itself. Like, the scaffolding is good. It's the drywall we're putting on the house that's not always the best.
Yeah.
So yeah. The skeleton's good. The muscle isn't quite as good.
Yeah. Let's get rid of the asbestos, folks.
Yeah.
Instead of reauthorizing the use of asbestos in an effort to drain the swamp somehow, let's get rid of it. Please.
Yeah. Let's get rid of all of it and just go back to a nice little one-room cottage and then build back out from there.
Sounds good.
But that's one reason I really am trying to focus on political parties, is trying to bring what little I can do to try and bring some form of professional vehicle for people that want to do things in politics. Because, like I was saying at the very beginning, the system doesn't make it easy, and anyone that wants to get involved, anyone that's interested in politics in some way, shape, or form, pretty much you have Republicans or Democrats to get involved with. If you go to any of the third parties at this point, they're filled with people that are very, very devoted, very, mm-hmm. very interested in thought experiments for the most part, an interest in. I don't want to overgeneralize, but generally people that very much enjoy talking about change, but not really putting the pedal to the metal. Mm-hmm. It's one reason I wanted to form this. It's a little thing I can do to try and, I don't know, fix the system as well, because the system might have been broken to start with, but do something to make it a little bit easier for people that want to get involved to get involved. Because basically what the structure is, this is going to be a dirty word, so all y'all out there, this is going to be a word that you don't like, all right? But technically, Fulcrum politics.
Oh no, not.
I'm sorry, Jackie. I can't let you do that. It's not looking foxing likely.